My mother sold my late grandmother's 1952 Steinway piano, the one Grandma explicitly left to me in her handwritten will for $38,000, and used every penny to pay off my younger sister's credit card debt. When I called Grandma at her nursing home and told her what happened, she went quiet for a moment, then said in the calmest voice I'd ever heard, "Sweetheart, be at my room tomorrow at 2 o'clock. It's time they met my estate attorney. I should probably start from the beginning. My name is Claire, and I'm 28 years old. I've spent the last 6 years teaching piano to kids in Portland, Oregon, barely making ends meet but doing what I love. My younger sister Madison is 23, fresh out of college with a marketing degree she's never used because, well, Mom always said Maddie needed time to find herself. What that really meant was that Maddie got to live rent-free in Mom's house, drive Mom's spare car, and rack up credit card debt on clothes, trips to Cabo, and bottles of wine that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I moved out at 18, not because I wanted to, but because Mom made it clear there wasn't room for both of us under her roof. "You're more independent, Claire," she'd said, as if that made it okay. "Madison needs more support right now." Right now had turned into 5 years. But none of that mattered as much as the piano. My grandmother, Dorothy, was a concert pianist back in the day. She played in halls across Europe in the 50s and 60s, before she married my grandfather and settled in Seattle. Her most prized possession was a Steinway grand piano from 1952, the one she'd saved for years to buy, the one she'd played in her first major concert in Vienna. It had ivory keys, original hammers, and a tone so pure it could make you cry. I grew up sitting beside Grandma on that piano bench. She'd place my small hands on the keys and guide me through Chopin, through Beethoven, through pieces I couldn't even pronounce. "Music is the only inheritance that matters," she'd whisper to me. "Money disappears, Claire. But what you can create with your hands, with your heart that stays forever." When Grandma's health started declining last year, she moved into an assisted living facility called Harmony Gardens. Dementia was creeping in, but she still had moments of perfect clarity. During one of those moments, 3 months ago, she wrote out a will by hand on her personal stationery. I wasn't there, but her friend Vivian, who lived down the hall, was. Vivian told me later that Grandma was very specific. "The Steinway goes to Claire. She's the only one who understood what it meant." Grandma gave the handwritten will to Vivian for safekeeping and told her to make sure I got it after she passed. But Grandma didn't pass. She was still here, still fighting, still having her good days and bad days. 2 weeks ago, I stopped by Mom's house to drop off some sheet music I'd borrowed. That's when I noticed the empty space in the living room. The piano was gone. "Mom?" I called out, my voice echoing in the suddenly too large room. "Where's Grandma's piano?" My mother appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She didn't even look guilty. "Oh, that," she said casually. "I sold it." My heart stopped. "You what?" "I sold it, Claire. Don't be dramatic." She folded the towel and set it on the counter. Madison was in a tight spot financially, and that piano was just taking up space. I got $38,000 for it from a collector in California. Paid off all of Maddie's credit cards, and even had enough left over for her to get a proper work wardrobe. I couldn't breathe. "That piano wasn't yours to sell." "Excuse me?" Mom's eyes narrowed. "It was in my house, Claire. That makes it mine. Grandma left it to me. In her will." Mom laughed. Actually laughed. "What will?" "Your grandmother doesn't have a will, and even if she did, she's not dead yet, so it doesn't matter. That piano was legally mine to do with as I pleased. She wrote it out, 3 months ago. Vivian witnessed it. A handwritten note isn't a legal will, sweetheart. And honestly, what were you going to do with a piano that size anyway? You live in a tiny apartment. I did you a favor." That's when Madison walked in, carrying shopping bags from Nordstrom. She had new designer sunglasses perched on her head and was wearing a leather jacket I knew cost at least $800. "Oh, hey, Claire," she said breezily, barely looking at me. "Mom told you about the piano thing, right? I felt so bad about it, but I was literally drowning in debt, you understand." I didn't understand. I couldn't understand. That piano was the only piece of my grandmother I had left, the only connection to the woman who'd believed in me when no one else did. "How much debt?" I heard myself ask. Madison shrugged. Like 32,000? Maybe 33? I don't know. I wasn't really keeping track. But it's all gone now, so it doesn't even matter. She spent $32,000 on credit cards and didn't even keep track. I left without another word because I knew if I stayed, I'd say something I couldn't take back. I sat in my car in Mom's driveway and cried for 20 minutes. Then I called Grandma. She answered on the third ring. It was one of her good days, I could tell immediately by the clarity in her voice. "Claire Bear," she said warmly. "What a lovely surprise." "Grandma," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I need to tell you something about the piano." I explained everything. Mom selling it. Madison's debt. The $38,000 that disappeared in an instant. The line went quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. "Grandma? I'm here, sweetheart." Her voice had changed. It wasn't angry, exactly. It was something harder. Something I'd never heard from her before. "Did your mother happen to mention who she sold it to?" "Some collector in California," that's all she said. "I see." Another pause. "Claire, I need you to do something for me. Can you come to Harmony Gardens tomorrow at 2 o'clock? "Of course, but bring your mother and your sister. Tell them I want to see the whole family. Don't tell them why. Can you do that?" I said yes, because when Grandma Dorothy used that tone, you didn't ask questions. The next day, getting Mom and Madison to come was easier than I expected. Mom actually seemed pleased. "See? Your grandmother wants to see us. All of us. As a family." I didn't tell her that Grandma had specifically requested their presence. I just nodded and drove us all to Harmony Gardens in silence. Grandma's room was on the second floor, overlooking a small garden. When we arrived, there was already someone there, a man in his 60s wearing a crisp suit, sitting in the chair beside Grandma's bed. "Girls," Grandma said, smiling at us. But it wasn't her usual warm smile. "Thank you for coming. This is Martin Ashford. He's been my attorney for the past 30 years. Mom's face went pale. "Mom, what's this about?" "Sit down, Patricia," Grandma said. It wasn't a request. We sat. Mr. Ashford opened his briefcase and pulled out several documents. "Mrs. Hayes contacted me yesterday," he began, "regarding the sale of a 1,952 Steinway grand piano. A piano which, according to the holographic will she executed 3 months ago, was bequeathed specifically to her granddaughter, Claire." "That will isn't legal," Mom said quickly. "It was just a note." Mr. Ashford smiled. "In the state of Washington, a holographic will, that is, a will entirely in the testator's handwriting and signed by the testator, is legally valid provided it meets certain requirements. Mrs. Hayes's will meets all of those requirements. It was written entirely in her hand, dated, signed, and witnessed by a competent adult. The fact that she's still living doesn't invalidate its legal standing as a declaration of her testamentary intent." He pulled out another document. "More importantly, I had the foresight to have Mrs. Hayes execute a formal will 6 weeks ago, during one of her lucid periods, which I had properly witnessed and notarized. That will contains the exact same bequest regarding the piano." Mom's hands were shaking. "She has dementia. You can't." "I can and I did," Mr. Ashford interrupted. "Mrs. Hayes was evaluated by 2 independent physicians who confirmed she had testamentary capacity at the time she executed both wills. The dementia diagnosis doesn't preclude her from making legal decisions during periods of lucidity." He turned to Grandma, who nodded. He pulled out another sheet of paper. "Mrs. Hayes also made a video recording 3 months ago, specifically discussing her intentions regarding the piano. Would you like to see it?" He didn't wait for an answer. He pulled out an iPad and pressed play. On the screen, Grandma sat in the same room, looking directly at the camera. Her voice was strong and clear. "My name is Dorothy Marie Hayes. Today is March 15th, 2024. I am of sound mind, though I know my memory is failing. I want to make absolutely clear that my 1,952 Steinway grand piano is to go to my granddaughter Claire Elizabeth Morrison upon my death, not to my daughter Patricia, not to my granddaughter Madison, to Claire. She is the only one who understands what that piano means, what music means. She is the only one who shares my love of it. If anyone attempts to sell, move, or otherwise dispose of that piano against my wishes, I want them to know they are stealing from Claire, and I will do everything in my power to make sure justice is served." The video ended. Madison was crying. Mom looked like she might be sick. "Now," Mr. Ashford said, closing the iPad, "let's discuss the sale. Mrs. Morrison, you sold the piano for $38,000, is that correct?" Mom nodded mutely. "That piano's appraised value is actually $62,000. You sold it for significantly less than market value, likely because you needed quick cash and didn't shop around for the best offer. Nevertheless, you received $38,000 that rightfully belonged to Claire." He pulled out yet another document. "This is a demand letter. You have two options. Option 1. You return the piano to Claire within 30 days. You'll need to buy it back from whoever you sold it to, and any cost above the original sale price will be your responsibility. Option 2. You pay Claire the full appraised value of $62,000 within 30 days. "I don't have $62,000, Mom practically shouted. "I already spent the money on Madison's debt." "Then you'd better figure out how to get the piano back," Mr. Ashford said calmly. "Because if you don't comply with either option within 30 days, I'll be filing a lawsuit for conversion, breach of fiduciary duty, and tortious interference with an inheritance. Given the video evidence, the written wills, and witness testimony, I can virtually guarantee we'll win. And when we do, the court will award not just the value of the piano, but also punitive damages, attorney's fees, and court costs. You could be looking at well over $100,000. The room was silent except for Madison sniffling. Grandma finally spoke. "Patricia, I've watched you favor Madison over Claire her entire life. I said nothing because I hoped you'd figure it out on your own. But this?" She shook her head. "This is theft. You stole from your own daughter to bail out your other daughter from consequences she brought on herself. I won't tolerate it." "Mom, my mother started." "I'm not finished," Grandma said. Her voice was weak from age, but her words were steel. "You have 30 days to make this right. If you don't, I'll make sure every member of this family knows exactly what you did. And Claire will get every penny she's owed, even if it means you have to sell your house to pay for it." We left shortly after. The car ride home was silent, except for Madison's occasional sob. When we pulled up to Mom's house, they both got out without saying a word. I called Mom 3 days later. She answered but didn't speak. "I found out who bought the piano," I said. "It was a private collector in San Francisco named Robert Chen. I called him and explained the situation. He's willing to sell it back." "How much?" Mom's voice was barely a whisper. $41,000. He paid for shipping and some minor restoration work." I heard her take a shaky breath. "I don't have that kind of money, Claire." "Then you need to figure it out. You have 27 days left." The next week, I got a call from Madison. She was actually crying real tears, not the performative kind she usually used to get her way. "Claire, I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't know about the will. I didn't know it meant that much to you. Mom said it was just sitting there and that Grandma probably wouldn't even remember it. Maddie, you spent $32,000 on credit cards. How does someone even do that?" "I don't know," she wailed. "It just kept adding up. Dinners, trips, clothes. I thought I'd get a good job right out of college and pay it off, but that didn't happen. And then the interest started piling up, and I panicked. Mom offered to help and I didn't think about where the money was coming from." "You didn't want to think about it," I corrected. "There's a difference." She went quiet. "I'm getting a job, a real one. I'm going to pay you back, even if it takes years." "I don't want your money, Maddie. I want Grandma's piano." "I know," she whispered. "For what it's worth, I really am sorry." I wanted to believe her. Part of me did. But sorry doesn't unbreak what's broken. 2 days before the deadline, Mom called me. "I took out a loan against the house," she said. Her voice was flat, exhausted. "I have the money. Mr. Chen is shipping the piano directly to your apartment. I had to pay extra for them to get it up your stairs." "Mom, I don't want to talk about it, Claire. I'll pay off this loan for the next 10 years, but that's what I deserve. I should never have touched that piano. I should never have chosen Madison over you, over and over again. But I did, and now I'm facing the consequences. I never wanted it to come to this," I said quietly. "I know you didn't, but it needed to." She paused. "Your grandmother called me yesterday. Do you know what she said?" I waited. She said that the piano was never really about the piano. It was about respecting someone's wishes, about understanding that people matter more than money, about not enabling your children to the point where they can't stand on their own 2 feet. Mom's voice cracked. She said she still loves me, but she's disappointed in who I've become. And you know what? She's right. The piano arrived on a Tuesday. It took 4 movers 3 hours to get it into my apartment. It didn't fit perfectly. I had to rearrange everything, but I didn't care. I sat down at the bench that afternoon and played Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, the piece Grandma had taught me when I was 9. My fingers were rusty, and I made mistakes, but the tone was exactly as I remembered it. Pure, perfect, home. My phone rang while I was playing. It was Vivian from Harmony Gardens. "Claire, honey," she said gently, "you should come by tomorrow if you can. Dorothy's having a bad day, but she's been asking for you." I went the next morning. Grandma didn't remember the piano. She didn't remember the lawyer or the video or any of it. But when I told her I'd been practicing Chopin, her eyes lit up. "Play it for me," she whispered. "Hum it, at least." So I did. I hummed the Nocturne, and she closed her eyes and smiled. And for just a moment, she was back in Vienna, 22 years old, playing for a crowd that loved her. "Beautiful," she murmured. "You always had such a gift, Claire Bear. Don't waste it." "I won't, Grandma. I promise." She squeezed my hand. "Music is the only inheritance that matters. Remember that." "I will." 3 months later, Madison came to my apartment. She'd gotten a job as a marketing coordinator at a small startup. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. She stood in my doorway, staring at the piano. "Can I hear you play?" she asked quietly. I almost said no, but something in her face made me stop. She looked different, older, tired, like she'd finally realized the world doesn't bend around you just because you want it to. "Okay," I said. I played Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Grandma's favorite. When I finished, Madison was crying again, but this time it was different. "I never understood," she said, "why the piano mattered so much, why Grandma wanted you to have it. But I get it now. It's not about the money, it's about the music. It's about her legacy living on through you." "Yeah," I said, "it is. Do you think you'll ever forgive Mom? Or me?" I thought about that for a long time. I don't know. Maybe. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And it's not the same as going back to how things were. "I know," she said. "I just hope someday we can be sisters again. Real sisters. Not whatever we were before." "We'll see," I said. Because the truth is, family is complicated. Love is complicated. And sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who were supposed to protect you. But sometimes they also wake up. Sometimes they change. Sometimes they spend 10 years paying off a loan to fix their mistakes. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I sit at Grandma's piano and play. And I remember what she taught me. That music is the only inheritance that truly matters. That what you can create with your hands and your heart will outlive any amount of money. And that standing up for yourself, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, is the most important thing you can do. The piano sits in my living room now, taking up way too much space, making my apartment cramped and awkward. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.